everyone. It's been so great being here in Greece. It's my first time here. Everyone here attending this conference that I've met so far has been absolutely incredible. So it's an honor to be here speaking, and I just want to thank everyone who's put on this amazing conference for having me. So again, my name is Cherie Aimee. I'm actually I'm talking today about a very non-technical subject. So I invite you all, you've been hearing during this conference a lot of talk of blockchain, different types of technologies, the benefits, and I want you to just kind of open your minds to the extension of the blockchain space and what's going to take blockchain to mass adoption. So I want to actually bring a topic that I don't often hear discussed in the midst of a very heavy tech discussion, which is obviously needed because we would not be here today without the technology. But the value that I bring to this space requires, I would say, more soft skills. I have a background in technology. I've been in the tech space for over 15 years. I am actually a former front-end developer, so I do know what it's like to code and be behind the scenes of these computers every single day, to take pride in your code and to build something great. A lot of the products that I used to build were actually part of campaigns that would eventually be announced on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And many of you guys have heard of the Oprah Winfrey effect, where the minute she mentions your product, that your site better be built to sustain a heavy amount of traffic, and your product also better be a very good one. So I come from that level of stress, systems, teamwork, everything that it takes to pull something like that together. So the quality of work that I am used to, that I've come from, the quality of teamwork, and the quality of trust is a huge element that is involved with building any kind of innovative technology. I am the former Director of Communications for ShipChain, who you've most likely heard speak earlier today. And I am now on my own. My personal thought leadership brand has gotten a little too big for one company, and I now bring value to multiple different startups as an advisor, et cetera. I'm also partners with Columbia University Medical Center and New York Presbyterian Hospital, so I do a lot of work for them. I'm in some of their commercials. I speak in front of hundreds of surgeons, engineers, and I'm also a media contributor for several major PR platforms. And one thing I want to talk to you about is when I first started speaking earlier this year in blockchain, I remember distinctly, it was a very heavy tech conference, legal, and I was a little nervous to get on stage to talk about this 40,000 person community that we had grown as part of ShipChain that I was managing. And when I got up on stage, I should say before I got on stage, I heard one person say that, I hear so much about when you're looking to invest in some of these blockchain companies, to look at the team members, to research the team members. And this person was saying, who cares about the team? The technology doesn't need trust because it's a trustless system. And I thought that was so interesting at the time. It was so new for me. And for so many years in tech, I found it to be such a limiting viewpoint. But I soon found out that this person wasn't the only one that felt like that. And so when I got on stage, I was a little nervous thinking, oh my God, I'm going to all of a sudden start talking about how to, interact with your community, the human element, all these soft skills that allowed me to manage a 40,000 person community. And what I found is that when I got off stage, so many people got up out of their seats and came rushing towards me saying, thank you for bringing up this topic. So I know that a lot of these soft skills about integrity, ethics in your business, building trust, are key topics of conversation in business in general, and most importantly, absolutely, without a doubt, in a space like blockchain. So I've been featured in major media. I was just recently on the Dr. Oz show, and got to showcase one of the hospitals that I'm working with. And I've got a presence in this space, and I've loved every minute of it, the ups and downs. But I really just today want to talk about trust. Here's a quote from Stephen Covey. If you've ever read the book, The Speed of Trust, the One Thing That Changes Everything. There is one thing that is common to every individual, relationship, team, family, organization, nation, economy, and civilization throughout the world. One thing which, if removed, will destroy the most powerful government, the most successful business, the most thriving economy, the most influential leadership, the greatest friendship, the strongest character, the deepest love. On the other hand, if developed and leveraged, that one thing has the potential to create unparalleled success and prosperity in every dimension of life. Yet it is the least understood, most neglected, and the most underestimated possibility of our time. And that one thing is trust. And I have to say, I could not agree with that more, because we all know the benefits of the blockchain. We've been discussing them for the past couple of days. I'm not going to get into them, but we all know what those are. And the question often comes up, well, what's stopping us and preventing us from reaching mass adoption? So I listed a whole bunch of these things, such as, right now we've got regulations going on, we have liquidity complexities, we don't really have any true use cases right now. A lot of it is speculation. A lot of it is talking about what the future is going to bring, but we haven't seen enough real-world use cases that are actually live and being presented to us now, right? There's a lack of understanding of the technology, which I think we can all agree. There's discussions right now going on, that are really being thrown by major players, including IBM and Maersk, in supply chain logistics for, public versus private blockchain, right? And what's so interesting is I've been asking those questions for months without getting the appropriate feedback to really understand, there's a little bit more than just talking about blockchain. There's actually different types of blockchain, right? And maybe some of you know that, and some of us know that go to these conferences, but what about the people that are going to be using your product? What about these enterprise companies that are going to benefit? Now, obviously, I've been in supply chain and logistics all year, so that's kind of where my strength is. And when I think about, what's going to use, who is going to use these platforms, my first inclination is, well, what do they need to know about it? So if one company is building their supply chain logistics platform on a decentralized public ledger, public blockchain, and one is building it on private, are they really your competitor? And if they're not your competitor, it's really your job to explain to these companies what is the difference, right? This isn't really something that you want to be keeping to yourself. Whoops, sorry, I jumped ahead there. So, and one thing I want to just share, I'm not going to go into any of these, but we get the idea that there's a lot that is preventing us from reaching mass adoption. There's a lot of education that still needs to be moved forward. And obviously, to the other side of that in the green is going to be what does mass adoption ideally look like, right? We're going to have use cases. We're going to have little to no regulation. Of course, that's always up for debate. Endless collaboration, businesses, especially these major enterprises, on board, gung-ho about moving forward, putting money behind some of these blockchain products and companies. So I want to give a quick little explanation. So part of the reason why I get a lot of media attention is because I actually had a near-death experience back in 2010. I flatlined, was unresponsive for about 90 minutes. CPR did not work on me, and I miraculously survived on life support for about 4 months. And it was unknown if I would survive. I had less than, half a percent chance of living. And miraculously, I actually recovered. I had no heartbeat, but what kept me alive was a modern, innovative technology called an LVAD. And what it did was it actually acted as my heart because it was no longer beating. And this kept me alive. This innovative device kept me alive for about 5 years until I had a heart transplant. So I am a heart transplant survivor. And but one thing I want to share is that there was so much data on the fact that this device worked. I actually didn't need to trust it. Right? They just needed to install it and allow it to do its job. But it was very scary to walk around having a piece of device that was keeping me alive. So while you guys have your heart, your innate heart keeping you alive, I had this machine. I got to go home, thankfully, on this machine, but I had to trust that that machine would work. And although they told me it would, I was very nervous. I was still nervous. Something still needed to be shared with me. I needed more education. I needed to understand who were the people behind building this technology so that I could trust not just the technology, but the entire ecosystem that created this technology that is keeping me alive. I needed to know that the engineers had my best interests in mind, that the processes in place were verified, that the actual equipment that was being put together, right, because they were manufactured separately, I had to trust that they were put together in the right way. And I'll tell you why, because halfway through having this in my body, there was a recall. Have you ever had a recall on your car? That's never fun. Now imagine having a recall on a device that is implanted in you. And what happens after this recall? Should I be the one implanted with the one that needs to be replaced? You can only imagine. It's not enough to just trust the technology to do its thing, right? What got me to a place of comfort with this was understanding the full ecosystem that surrounded that technology. And when I think of an ecosystem, very similar to the ecosystem, in the world, in the ocean, it's the same with businesses. Businesses are made up of an ecosystem of networks, of major players, actors, people, processes, right? Goods. All of this is involved with blockchain. It is not just the developer sitting behind the computer building a great product. So the question becomes, do we need trust in blockchain if it works? And I say absolutely. Absolutely, because we are still people. Your customers are still people. Your customers are going to be business leaders, they're going to be executives, they're going to be CEOs, CTOs that have to make informed decisions before they're even going to be able to trust you and your product. So while blockchain sounds great, there is still so much that the majority of people in the world still don't understand. And so what are we going to do about this? I'm going to skip through this screen. It's just talking about one of the prime use cases being shipping and logistics, and I'm running out of time. But what I want to share is that blockchain is the star. Absolutely. We all absolutely know that. But one thing I always say, you could have the greatest product, right? You could have the most revolutionary product on the planet. But if no one knows about it, and if no one trusts it, it's going to fail. And so the question becomes, how well do you know your market? How well do you know, let's take supply chain. How well do you understand what the issues have been before blockchain? How well do you understand why these companies in supply chain have such siloed data? How well do you understand why they don't want to communicate? How well do you understand their wants, their biggest fears, their needs, and their aspirations? It's not just the technology, because the technology is going to just be a new element that you are introducing into an already existing problem that is still not being addressed. There is still a reason these companies fear loss of control of their data. It doesn't matter what technology you use. So if we want blockchain to get to mass adoption, what are we going to do to address their biggest fear, which is the loss of control? It's got to be by education, and education to build trust. You must establish trust. This is how we're going to humanize blockchain. We've got to bring the humanity back to it. Yes, we understand the benefits, absolutely. We understand the massive impact in the world. How are we going to get the people that are going to be paying you for your technology to trust that you know what you're doing and that you have their best interests in mind, and you know them like this? Because one thing I've learned in all my years of business is that you may be building your product based on a need, right? They need to collaborate. We get that in supply chain. They need to be collaborating. Everyone's siloed. But people don't buy based on what they need. They buy based on what they want. So do your tech people understand that? And do you have the people in place? Do you have the communications team in place to make sure that this is absolutely addressed? So to sum up, because I'm running late, you want to be transparent. You really want to clearly define those blockchain, the technology, the different types, the use cases, and the benefits. I also want you to be compassionate. Yes, I'm saying the word compassion in a room full of people passionate about technology. But I want you to share stories highlighting everyday problems so that you are showing the people that are going to be paying you money, the people that you have to convince to buy your product. I want you to show to them that you understand their deepest core problems, the core problems that are occurring in their industry, within their own companies, their organizations, and why they are so terrified of coming together. This is bigger than introducing a brand new innovative technology. Show that you understand what their core issues are. Show that you understand what the CIO, the CTO, and the CEO, their challenges are in this industry. And lastly, I want you to be real, all right? And I want you to share your core values with those people. I want you to share your own personal core values and the core values of your company, because when your market that includes not just your investors, not just, your community that loves you and shares you on Twitter, but when the people that are going to be using and actually their daily lives are going to be impacted by your product, understand that you at your core have their best interests in mind. This is going to move your technology faster than you could possibly imagine than if you were to just go around all day, every day talking about the technology. I promise you this. Companies come to me to help them build trust. Thankfully, I understand technology enough that I can walk into a space like blockchain and deliver value. So don't ever forget the element of trust. Education is the key. Building trust isn't a byproduct of building a technology the world is not yet familiar with. Part of being an innovator is being an educator as well. To impact humanity, you must address real everyday concerns and issues. This takes commitment, dedication, and relentless communication, distribution, and presence. The businesses who organize and position themselves to build a great product based on industry demands, right? What do people want? And communicate clearly and transparently in a relatable manner will be the ones to move humanity forward and drive us towards mass adoption. Let's build a better world together. Thank you guys so much for listening.